I never thought it would happen to me. But my wife's betrayal cut deeper than I could imagine. I never thought I'd be the guy sharing a story like this. But here I am. It all started with a gut feeling. That cold, creeping instinct at the back of your neck that tells you something is seriously wrong. First, I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was just being paranoid. After all, I had been married to Lisa for 10 years. She's beautiful, intelligent, and we had what I thought was a solid relationship. But everything started to unravel when a $300,000 inheritance came into the picture. We started fighting over it. Not just disagreements, but full-blown, soul-draining arguments. She wanted to use the money for her own business ideas. I wanted to invest and save. It wasn't just about the money, it was about control. And suddenly, I started seeing a different side of the woman I married. Then came the ultimate blow. I discovered she was having an affair. Not just with anyone, but with her boss. The same man I had shaken hands with at company parties. The same man she always insisted was just a friend and mentor. As I tried to process the betrayal, I found out she was doing something even more sinister behind my back. Secretly working to remove my name from the deed to our home. The home we bought together. The home I helped build emotionally, financially, and physically. All while smiling to my face and acting like everything was fine. Now I don't know what's worse. Her cheating or her greed. Looking back, I see the signs I ignored. The secrecy, the late nights, the sudden shift in our conversations from we to me. But when you love someone, truly love them, you tend to overlook the cracks until the whole thing collapses. So here I am, picking up the pieces of a life I thought was stable. Trying to rebuild trust in a world that suddenly feels unfamiliar. And telling this story not for sympathy but as a warning. Because betrayal doesn't always come with a warning sign. Sometimes it walks through your front door, kisses you goodnight, and plans your downfall while you sleep. We had built a life together. A comfortable home, shared memories, and what I believed was a strong foundation. Everything seemed stable, until the small changes started creeping in. At first, I dismissed them. She was a little more distant, a little more guarded with her phone. I noticed her deleting messages more frequently, but I told myself it was probably just work stress or that she needed space. Still, something in my gut wouldn't settle. That quiet discomfort grew louder with each passing week. Then one night, everything came crashing down. I came home early from a business trip, not to catch her off guard, but simply because I missed her. I wanted to see her face, surprise her with a smile. So I parked outside our house, unaware that the moment I stepped through that door, my entire world was about to change. The house was unusually quiet. Normally, Lisa would be at the door the moment she heard my car, excited to tell me about her day. But this time, there was nothing. No footsteps, no greeting, not even the hum of the TV in the background. Just silence. I had forgotten my key, so I slipped in through the back door, trying not to startle her. But what I walked into stopped me cold. Her purse was sitting open on the kitchen counter. That alone wasn't strange. What caught my eye was a folded hotel receipt sticking out of it, from a downtown hotel. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she met a client there for lunch. Maybe it was nothing. But then I saw the date. It was from last Thursday. The same Thursday I was supposed to be out of town. That's when the weight in my chest got heavier. Her phone was on the table, screen lit up, a message preview flashing. A number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. The phone wasn't locked. Maybe she had forgotten to put in her passcode, or maybe she didn't expect to get caught. What I saw made my hands go cold. Text after text. Flirty, intimate, plans, hotel room numbers, and pictures. She was seeing someone else, and not just anyone. It didn't take long to figure out who. The messages were unmistakable. Flirty, intimate, full of longing. They talked about meeting up again, about how much they missed each other. Every word cut deeper than the last. My stomach dropped. I scrolled a bit further, and there it was, a name. Mark. She was planning to meet her boss, Mark, at a hotel. Mark. I knew him, the kind of guy who always hovered too close, laughed a little too loudly at his own jokes, and flirted with every woman in the room like it was a game. I never liked him, but I never thought Lisa would be foolish or cruel enough to cross that line with him. I didn't say a word that night. Couldn't. I just sat there, alone in the kitchen, staring at her phone like it had just delivered the final blow to a life I thought was real. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it had been ripped open. And my mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Was it just Mark? Or had there been others? Was our whole marriage a lie? I heard the front door open. She called out my name, cheerful and unsuspecting, like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. How long had this been going on? Was I blind? Had the signs always been there, and I just refused to see them? I replayed everything in my head, over and over. The late nights, the vague explanations, the sudden hostility anytime I asked about her job or her friends. Her phone always glued to her hand. The coldness that had crept into our conversations. I wanted to believe it was just stress or routine, but now I knew. She wasn't just drifting. She was sneaking around behind my back. And the worst part? I had no idea for how long. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I confronted her. I showed her the receipt, the messages, the proof. I laid it all out. There was no way to spin it. She looked stunned. Not guilty, not ashamed, just surprised. Like she hadn't expected me to find out so soon. And then, she started lying. Of course she did. She said it was a mistake. That Mark was just a colleague. That the messages were taken out of context. She tried to tell me they were only talking about work. But her voice trembled. Her story didn't add up. And I could see it in her eyes. Fear. Guilt. The realization that the mask had finally slipped. Then came the excuses. She swore they never slept together. Claimed it was just harmless flirting. That it meant nothing. That she loved me too much to ever go that far. Yeah. That's what she said. She cried. She begged. Said she was under pressure. Said it was a stupid lapse in judgment. That it was just a distraction. Just a moment. But I wasn't hearing it anymore. Because whether or not they slept together, the betrayal had already happened. The moment she let someone else into the space that was supposed to be ours. She broke it. Sex. That's what she swore never happened. But I knew better. Maybe they hadn't gone all the way, or maybe they had. At that point, it didn't matter. Because the emotional betrayal had already gutted me. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. And now I felt like a complete fool. Played. Lied to. Used. I was furious. The kind of fury that keeps your chest tight and your fists clenched. How could she do this? After everything we built. The years, the sacrifices, the plans. She threw it away like it meant nothing. But underneath all that rage was something even worse. A deep, hollow ache. A betrayal that dug so far into my soul. I wasn't sure I'd ever crawl back out. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. All I could do was lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the life we had built. The life I thought we were building together. The trust one had given her so freely, and how she burned it to the ground for a fling with her boss. But it wasn't just the affair. That was only part of the betrayal. The other part, the one that truly shattered me, was the greed. Not long before all of this, I discovered something else. Quietly, behind my back, Lisa had been trying to change the deed on our house. Removing my name. Setting it up so she could control everything, the home, the equity, the future, without ever needing me in the picture. That was the real kicker. She didn't just cheat on me. She tried to erase me. Emotionally. Legally. Entirely. I didn't know what to do next. Part of me wanted to explode. To scream, to rage, to tell her to pack her bags and get the hell out. I wanted her to feel even an ounce of the betrayal she had inflicted on me. But another part of me just stood there, paralyzed. Not with fear, but with heartbreak. Because when someone you love betrays you like that, it's not just the relationship that ends. It's your sense of reality. Your confidence. Your peace. Everything changed after that night. I couldn't just sit around wallowing in heartbreak. Even though, truthfully, that's all I wanted to do. But my mind wouldn't stop. It kept racing, obsessing over every moment, every conversation, trying to separate what was real from what had been a lie. And the more I thought about it, the more I needed to know. Not just for closure, but because I no longer trusted anything she said, or anything we had built together. So I started digging. Her phone, her emails, the cloud backups. Every password she had ever shared with me suddenly became a lifeline, a thread I could pull to unravel the truth. And what I found made my stomach turn. It wasn't just Mark. Yes, there were more messages from him, hotel plans, code words, late-night calls, but that was only the beginning. There were secret bank transfers. Thousands of dollars quietly moved from our joint account into an account with only her name on it. There were texts arranging private meetings. Places she told me she was running errands or visiting her mom. But in reality, she was meeting with someone. Sometimes Mark, sometimes people I didn't even recognize. And then, the most disturbing find, a string of emails with a lawyer. A family law attorney. In those messages, she wasn't just asking questions about our finances or assets. She was laying groundwork. She had been preparing, step by step, to cut me out completely. From the house. From the inheritance. From everything. It became clear. The affair was only part of the betrayal. What really shook me to my core was the fact that she had been plotting this for a long time. While still sleeping in our bed, still smiling in our family photos, still calling me babe and telling me she loved me. She had been planning to betray me. Not emotionally, not impulsively, but systematically. Cold, calculated, cruel. She'd hired a lawyer behind my back. She was actively working to strip my name from the deed to our home. The home we bought together, built together, and poured years of our lives into. I caught her in the act. It happened during one of my late-night searches, when sleep felt impossible and paranoia had become routine. That's when I found it. An official document, buried in a folder she clearly didn't think I'd ever look at. It was a drafted update to the property deed. Her name, only hers. My heart stopped. She'd already taken the first steps to transfer the house into her name alone. She had a lawyer prepare everything right down to the submission form. I just sat there, staring at it, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. All those years I thought we were a team, partners in everything. Turns out, she had been planning her exit while I was still fighting for our future. I was the fool she was using to get there. And now, she was trying to erase me. Not just emotionally, but financially and legally. My blood boiled. How could someone be that cold? That calculating? I had known Lisa could be difficult. Quick to argue, sometimes manipulative when she wanted her way. But this was something else entirely. This was next-level betrayal. A strategic takedown of our life together, just so she could walk away with everything. That's when I knew. I couldn't sit back and wait to be blindsided again. I had to act, and fast. I reached out to a lawyer, someone who specialized in property disputes and marital asset protection. I brought them everything I had. The documents, the messages, the receipts. I needed to understand my rights, and I needed to stop her from doing any more damage. At the same time, I decided I would confront her again. But this time, I wasn't walking in with heartbreak or confusion. This time, I'd be walking in with evidence, a legal strategy, and a line in the sand. Because she wasn't just cheating on me anymore. This time, I'd be ready. I wasn't going to sit there and let her manipulate the story or twist the truth. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the same naive, trusting husband she thought she could walk all over. I arranged a meeting with her lawyer and began compiling every shred of evidence I could find. Screenshots of messages, suspicious bank transactions, and documents that clearly showed she was trying to cheat me out of both my inheritance and our home. Meanwhile, Lisa was growing more defensive and more arrogant. She spun lie after lie, told anyone who'd listen that she deserved the house because she worked so hard to maintain it, that I was just bitter and jealous, insecure even. She'd look me dead in the eye and say things like, "It's not like I'm cheating on you anymore," with that smug, fake smile that made my skin crawl. She actually had the nerve to act like I was the problem, like her affair with Mark was some kind of emotional response to my absence. She said she was just trying to find happiness outside our marriage, that it didn't mean anything. Yeah, right. Every word that came out of her mouth was dipped in sugar, but all I tasted was poison. I didn't believe her. Not for a second. By then, I had seen through the act, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way she twisted the truth until it fit her narrative. Still, the emotional toll was crushing. I felt betrayed in every sense of the word. I felt humiliated, like my entire marriage had been a joke I wasn't in on. And I felt furious. A deep, burning anger I had never known I was capable of. But underneath it all, I kept asking myself the same question. How did I miss all the signs? I kept replaying everything. The signs I missed, the moments I ignored, and the gut feelings I brushed aside. How could I have been so blind to who she really was? It felt like waking up from a nightmare, only to realize the nightmare wasn't over. It was real, and it had been unfolding right in front of me the entire time. I had trusted her with everything. My love, my money, my future. And while I was building a life for us, she was secretly planning her exit. Methodically, ruthlessly, behind my back. What shattered me the most wasn't just the betrayal. It was the fact that I had still considered staying. Even after everything, there was a part of me, small but stubborn, that still hoped we could somehow fix it. That maybe, just maybe, we could salvage the broken pieces of our marriage. But deep down, I knew that was probably a mistake. It wasn't love keeping me there anymore. It was fear. It was denial. It was the desperate urge to cling to a version of my life that no longer existed. A life I thought we were building together, but that only ever existed in my mind. As I built my legal case against her, another thought began to creep in: revenge. Not the petty, impulsive kind. I didn't want to slash her tires or expose her on social media. No, this was something deeper, more calculated. I wanted to hit her where it would hurt the most: her pride, her lies, and especially her greed. She had tried to erase me from our home, from our finances, from the very life we built together. But I wasn't going to just sit back and let her walk away with everything like I was some disposable afterthought. She had plotted her move in silence. Now, I was going to make sure she paid for it. Not just emotionally, but legally, financially, and reputationally. I had some money saved, not much, but enough to do something with. And I decided I'd use it to fight back. Not just to protect what was mine, but to ensure that the next time she thought about screwing someone over, she'd remember this. So I hired a private investigator. If she was hiding anything else. Money, more affairs, backdoor deals, I wanted to know. I needed every advantage I could get, and I wasn't going to stop until I had the full picture. I hired someone who could get deep, a private investigator who specialized in financial forensics and personal surveillance. I wanted access to everything she was hiding. Undisclosed accounts, hidden transfers, and, if I was lucky, proof that she hadn't really ended things with Mark. I needed her to see that I was done playing nice. Everything was crashing down around me at once. Legal battles, emotional wreckage, and the slow, painful realization that the woman I had spent a decade loving was nothing like I believed. She wasn't the partner I thought I had. She was manipulative, calculated, greedy, willing to toss aside 10 years of marriage, shared dreams, and mutual sacrifices for a fling with her sleazy boss and a bigger piece of the pie. I couldn't stop thinking about the inheritance, those $300,000 that had become the breaking point. Money meant to secure our future, not fuel her betrayal. We had fought bitterly over it. Now I saw the full picture. She never wanted to invest it with me. She wanted to take it from me, use it to build a life without me, and make sure I was left with nothing but broken promises and legal bills. And that's when I stopped feeling conflicted. She wanted a war? She was going to get one. She was quietly trying to take even more from me behind my back. It felt like betrayal stacked on top of betrayal, and I was drowning in the weight of it. But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't let her get away with it. Not without a fight. I was determined to reclaim everything she tried to steal and make her regret ever crossing me. The deeper I looked, the more apparent it became. Lisa's greed was just as poisonous as her infidelity. Subtle signs began to surface, small, deliberate moves. She had been siphoning money from our joint account, discreetly transferring it into another. She had been funneling money into a secret account I didn't even know existed, quietly building a financial cushion, an escape fund, all while pretending everything between us was fine. But it didn't stop there. I uncovered that she'd been consulting a divorce lawyer for months, carefully crafting her exit strategy behind my back. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about infidelity. Lisa was orchestrating a complete takedown, aiming to gut me financially and walk away with everything. I knew then that waiting passively wasn't an option. I had to act fast, to get ahead of her before she made her final move. So I made a choice. A step I never imagined I'd take. A step I never thought I'd have to take. Hiring my own lawyer. Someone who could help me fight back, legally and decisively, and stop her from doing any more damage. That's when I met Mark. A sharp, no-nonsense attorney who didn't waste time with pleasantries. I laid everything out for him. Every piece of evidence I had. The hidden transfers, the cryptic messages, the forged documents. Mark didn't hesitate. He told me I had a solid case to contest her claims on the property deed, and if we moved quickly, I could even push to have her assets frozen before she could move them again. That gave me a sense of control I hadn't felt in weeks. But while I was preparing to strike, Lisa's attitude was shifting, growing bolder, more careless. Things with Lisa only got worse. She became defensive, outright hostile. Anytime I brought up the house or questioned her plans, she'd lie without hesitation, deny even the most obvious facts, and then flip the script, accusing me of being paranoid or controlling. It was classic manipulation, and she played it well. I'll never forget the day she snapped and spat. "You're just jealous because I'm finally getting what I deserve. You think I'm cheating? At least I'm doing better than you." That wasn't just deflection, it was venom, designed to make me doubt myself, to shift the blame. But I wasn't confused anymore. I knew exactly what was happening. I knew the truth. She was the one cheating. She was the one trying to steal what we had built together. Every day felt like walking a tightrope, tense, uncertain, ready to snap at any moment. I'd wake up with a heavy knot in my stomach, fully aware that she was still scheming behind my back. The anger was constant, but beneath it was something even deeper, betrayal like I had never known. This was the woman I had loved, the woman I trusted with my life. And now, she was a stranger. Someone who lied, who cheated, who meticulously plotted her way to a bigger slice of the pie. I couldn't stop replaying everything in my head, questioning myself. How had I missed the signs? The unexplained late nights, the secretive phone calls, the secret calls, the sudden coldness, the biting remarks that came out of nowhere. Looking back, it all pointed to one thing. She was out for herself, and I was nothing more than collateral damage. But nothing prepared me for the moment I caught her red-handed. She was trying to transfer the deed to the house, our house, without my knowledge. That was the breaking point. I had already hired a private investigator to trace her financial activities, and he delivered exactly what I feared. Undeniable proof. She'd been meeting with her lawyer behind my back, quietly drafting documents to secure full ownership for herself. It was deliberate, calculated, treacherous. The fury that surged through me was indescribable. This time, I didn't go in blind. I confronted her with everything: bank records, meeting logs, copies of the documents. I laid it all out. And she tried to spin it, of course. Said she was just protecting herself. Accused me of trying to control her, as if I was the one playing games. But I saw right through her. There was no misunderstanding here. She was trying to cut me out, plain and simple. That's when it truly sank in. This wasn't some impulsive decision. She had been planning it for months, maybe longer. The secret meetings, the hidden funds, the late-night disappearances. It was all part of a calculated effort to erase me from the life we'd built. And the worst part? While she was plotting in the shadows, I was still clinging to the illusion of normalcy, trying to keep things together, trying to believe it could still work somehow. But the truth was, I was falling apart inside. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But her actions had hollowed that love out, leaving only the sharp edges of betrayal. Her actions made one thing painfully clear. I'd been fooling myself. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone driven by greed, deception, and self-interest. Whatever love had once existed had been buried beneath lies and betrayal. I knew then I had to move fast. I couldn't just sit back and let her steal the house, or worse, destroy my financial future. So I contacted a mediator and initiated the legal process to challenge her claim on the property. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about survival. I knew she'd fight hard, but so would I. I wasn't going down quietly. I was ready for the battle, legally and emotionally. But deep down, I was also planning something else, my revenge. Not out of spite, but to show her that she couldn't betray me and walk away unscathed. She needed to understand that actions have consequences. The emotional toll was relentless. I swung between fury, despair, and a haunting numbness. There were nights I couldn't sleep, stuck in a loop, replaying every memory, every sign I'd missed. How had I been so blind? How had I trusted someone who turned out to be nothing more than a lying, greedy opportunist? But in that chaos, I learned something vital. I had to protect myself. I had to stop trying to fix what was already shattered. I had to stand up for what was mine, even if it meant tearing apart the life we once shared. Would you like to continue with how the legal proceedings unfolded, or how your revenge plan developed? The life I thought I knew was gone, but I wasn't going to let her walk away with my inheritance or crush the last bit of dignity I still had. This was only the beginning of the war, and I knew it would be brutal and drawn out. But I was prepared to fight, for my rights, for the truth, and for what was mine. The battle over the house and the money escalated faster than I'd anticipated. Once I brought in my lawyer, the pace picked up. She immediately shifted tactics, pretending I was being irrational, just some jealous, paranoid ex. But her mask slipped quickly. That same smug, manipulative attitude I'd grown to know too well came creeping back.